Hey everybody out there, welcome to joining another Powered by Search webinar. This webinar is about optimizing emails for lead generation success. And we're really excited about our guests that we have here today. We're going to spend some time talking about them next. What I'd like to do is introduce our guest. Our first guest is Lincoln Murphy, and Lincoln Murphy is the founder of 16 Ventures. Lincoln has worked with more than 300 clients of all shapes and sizes and business models. And he loves helping them rapidly accelerate their growth with email marketing. And then next we've got Jordy Van Ryn. Did I say your last name right, Jordy?
Van Ryn, yeah.
All right, excellent. And he's also an email marketing consultant at Email Monday. He's worked with brands like Unilever, KLM, and Heineken, and he loves marketing and coffee. And next up, we've got Tim Watson. Tim is the founder of Zetasphere. He's a self-confessed email marketing addict who never ceases to tire from the thrill of developing a great strategy and seeing the money roll in. He has over 10 years of total focus on email marketing. And last but not least, we've got Tommy Walker. Tommy, do you prefer Tommy or Tom?
Tommy.
Tommy Walker. And Tommy Walker is, I'm part of the marketing team at Shopify. He's also a former editor of Conversion Excel. And he hosts the most famously, Page Fights.
And totally phoned it in on the bio.
So guys, what we're going to do next is, now that we've done an intro to our guests, is we're just going to do a little bit of cleaning house. And we're going to talk about some of the people behind the scenes. We can't forget them. There's me. My name is Matthew Hunt. I'm the Chief Operations Officer at Powered by Search. And then we've got these fantastic people who actually do all the work for this webinar behind the scenes, which is Joel and Gordon and Dwayne. And they're going to be moving the slides along. They're going to be taking your questions in the question section and looking at tweets that you're sending out. Some other things that we want to cover is the webinar recording. So this recording, if you, for whatever reason, have to leave, but hopefully you don't, or if you missed it for whatever reason, it's going to be available on June 2nd. It's going to be available on our blog. And anybody who subscribed to the webinar will also get a full recording of the webinar emailed to them. For those of us that are there on Twitter or even Facebook, if you want to use the hashtag is marketingfanatics, just because we're nuts about marketing. Let's get into the agenda for today. So the agenda today is we're just going to go over some of the ABCs about lead generation and email marketing and why it's important. And then we're going to get into the fun part, which is the email teardowns and top tools and some questions that you guys may have. We do encourage you to stay into the end, because if you stay into the end, we're actually going to post a quick survey. And this survey is just a few questions. It's literally going to take you maybe 60 seconds tops, 2 minutes, and it lets us know what you liked and what you didn't like. And if you participate in that survey, we're going to pick one random lucky winner who's going to win a gift card to Amazon for $50. So please stay into the end. Please fill out the survey and let us know how we're doing. Without further ado, let's get right into the meat of the webinar. Let's start talking about, what is lead generation. And I'm just going to go round robin, and maybe Lincoln, you can start out with this. For those people out there that don't know what lead generation emails are, could you maybe describe what that is?
Yeah, I mean, this is where I like to make some sort of controversial statements around, is it lead generation or lead capture, right? And so lead generation to me is where you're actually going out and having to generate leads. Maybe that's cold email outreach to prospects. You're really going out and you're finding your ideal customer, you're reaching out to them. They're not coming to you. Lead capture is kind of a different way of looking at it. Those are the people, there's already demand out in the market. They're actively searching, they're actively coming to your site. They're finding you, and then they're opting in, and you're using emails to this already opted in list to sort of nurture them, and so you have some sort of capture there. So there's lead generation and lead capture, and I look at those two things quite differently. And I think depending upon what company if you're brand new startup in a new product category and nobody knows about you, you're going to look at it one way. If you're already in a hot market and you're competing with others where there's already pent up demand, you're gonna look at things a little bit differently. So I think those are two different things, and you have to approach it tactically in a different way.
You know what? That's really great, and I'm glad you actually did that and split up between captures and nurturing. But for those people out there, could you maybe also just expand on why would someone want to capture, like, if you were a business, why would you want to capture someone's email? Like, what's the benefit of that to the business? There may be some people that just don't get it, and maybe you could just share that with us.
Yeah, so I mean, the bottom line is somebody comes to your site, we want to make sure that they come back, or if they don't come back, that we at least get some value out of them coming there in the first place, right? So we want to have some way of continuing that relationship with them. I mean, it's one thing to create a piece of content and have people come look at it, but it kind of sucks if they never come back. And kind of the way things work these days, things have changed in terms of the way people consume content. You know, I don't think, and you know, happy to be proven wrong here, but actually not happy, it would really kind of sting. But you know, I think that the way people, I don't think people like they don't subscribe to blog post feeds anymore, right? They have maybe a feed reader, you know, maybe, but that's I think that's gone out. I think certainly the way I consume is I follow people on Twitter or on other social media, and they sort of surface the best things, or I go to Growth Hackers or inbound.org or whatever, and I see the best stuff that's out there that's surfacing. What that means is that if you create a piece of content, it may surface, you know, bubble up to the top. It may be something that people see one time. You have to take advantage of that and capture that information from them. Give them some reason to opt into your list. Start a relationship with you. Also great to you know, put some retargeting pixels there in case they don't opt in, but that's for another day. But the main thing is capture value from that sort of one-off transient relationship, because they're probably not gonna subscribe to your feed. They won't know about the next time that you post something. You may have that one opportunity. So what can we do when they come and they read that one piece of content of ours? How can we capture that value from them?
Right. Jordy, I'm going to ask you a couple questions here just to expand upon this idea of, you know, why people should do email marketing. But, you know, what are some things that you could offer for someone to give you their email address? Like, what are things that you've done in the past with your clients and customers in your business?
Yeah, so if you're asking people to subscribe, there are a couple of ways you can do that. And to kind of get the most out of that page visit, right? So people come to your site, and from just the visitors, you want as many as are interesting to all, you know, leave their contact details, to leave their email address. So there are basically two things you can do. One is make it very easy to sign up. So if there is any type of difficulty blocking the way, try and remove that. And the other thing is sweeten the deal, right? And that was what you were asking, right? What can you give people? Well, first off, it would be great if your email program itself has some value. And then you can just say, hey, you know, if you subscribe, we'll send you this, this, and this, right? You'll get this type of information, or, you know, we keep you updated, etc. If that has value by itself, you don't really have to sweeten that deal so much. But you'll see, you know, in e-commerce, they'll give you a discount, you know, 10% off. Well, that always works. In B2B, some very topical white papers, especially if people are researching the topic and your products, and you have the white paper that matches with, you know, the person that is searching for that product. You know, that's like gold, because you already know, because they want to have that white paper, that they're interested in your product, and you're already 3-4 steps ahead of the rest of the competition. Now you do not only have the email address, but you also know that they're interested in buying, and also that they're almost ready to buy. Wow. So what else? I'd say you can give away pretty much everything. Halfords did a good job. They do like a monthly giveaway, a raffle, right? So you can win some of those video screens for the back of your car. But they don't give that away if you subscribe, but one step after. So they'll ask you to give in some more information about your interests, etc. And if you do that, if you complete your profile, and they'll be able to target you much better, then you get the incentive.
Great. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's all about you need a value and or some sort of offer of something that's going to want people a hook to give them that email address. Is that right?
Yeah, you want to so people will give their information. They'll give their email address if you give them a reason to, right? And a very good reason can just be to ask, do you want to subscribe to our newsletter? People are already on the page. Probably they're already some kind of interested. On my own site, I have one of those pop-ins, very dynamically animated, etc. It looks very nice. My face is on it. And I just say, hey, you see these blog posts. You want to know when another one with some good tips is coming up? Just leave your email address, and works like a charm.
Cool.
I want to take that a step further too. Oh, go ahead, Lincoln.
Okay, just real quick. The main thing was because I will. I'm gonna do it.
Just jump right in there. All right.
Screw you. I'm talking anyways.
Exactly.
The other thing with removing all the obstacles, I didn't even touch on that, but that's also something.
Well, I think one of the things that removes obstacles is to make sure that you're using what you're giving away is what we would say is the appropriate modality for the audience. So I mean, some people consume videos, some people consume white papers, and you just have to do whatever's appropriate. So if you have a favorite thing that you like to give away, unless you're selling the same thing to the same people, it may not work if you go after a different target audience. So that's important. And also, I'll just say this as a tactic. Content upgrades are really working very well for me and the folks that I work with, which is basically to say, here's a blog post on something, here's 10 reasons why whatever, and then here's another bonus reason or another 10 bonus reasons or whatever, and then sort of having a very specific opt-in just for that piece of content for that blog post.
Yeah.
Is pretty cool. So Tommy.
I was actually going to go right along those same lines. It's totally contextual, right? As far as best options, I hate actually hearing the term best, and it's not necessarily just like I feel like in the world of email lead capture specifically, like I don't sign up for a lot of stuff anymore because I've seen it all, right? And I think we've all seen it all, and what it comes down to is the context of what's going on. So like it might be a specific email or series of emails, depending on the context, right? On that landing page, right? So, for example, someone comes to my website because they are looking at Facebook ad mistakes, for example, something that is completely contextual to that. We know that that's a really good jumping off point for an autoresponder that might be something that's like, okay, now here's how we can improve you over the next 5 emails, get you into a better place, and then have that lead into a paid program. However, something like that might also not be the same for a product giveaway, right? Like, or if you're in e-commerce, for example, someone searching for a specific type of product, they can come onto your site and then see the product, decide whether or not they want to leave, and then you could give a generic offer of like, 10% off or free shipping off, if you enter your email address, or you can do something that's even more contextual, which is like get updates about to this product line or something like that. So the question that we have to really be looking at with all of this stuff now is, what do people really want? And we have to avoid. You have to avoid, and you can find that out through qualitative research, but you have to avoid also being a discount house, right, and racing to the bottom on price, because you don't want to get people trained, once they start opening your emails, you don't want to get them trained into the habit of like only buying stuff from you when you offer a discount. Right. Yeah. So that's that's kind of beyond this part of the conversation, but at the same time, like, don't jump to tactically just going 10% off or free shipping for. Think about, if you do furniture, for example, maybe a style guide or how to incorporate this into an overall style would be a good place to start, right?
Totally.
Just value works often, doesn't it?
What's that?
That adding value often works as well too. You're right. Going to the discounts is sometimes the worst tactic.
Oh man,
it should be the last tactic that companies.
Absolutely, it's a cop out. Discounts are a cop out 99% of the time.
Tim,
I just wanted, I mean, there's good stuff there. And I mean, I wanted to add that about contextual positioning, so that what people are looking at on the web page at the moment. You pop up something, you offer something which is related to that, and it's a strategy I've used. And I've just been stunned at what the conversion rate goes up by. You see 5 times more sign-ups when you actually present something which is relevant to the page as the little value exchange, as opposed to that generic value exchange item. It just blew me away, and it's well worth doing that. But the other thing I want to say was about timing as well. Picking the moment when you're going to ask for the email address, which pop-ups are really powerful. Putting a pop-up at the right sort of moment when they've had time to read some of the content, if it's a contextual one. But another good way of doing it is just making sure at the bottom of a blog post that you give an option there to say, would you like to drop in your email address and get more good content like this? Now, if someone's just invested 2-3 minutes of reading a blog article and they did get to the bottom, they must have enjoyed it, they must have valued it. It's the perfect time to say, would you like more of this? So it's about timing as well. Make sure you pick your moment just when people have reached that weak spot of motivation. Then. And
you're recommending that you have offers that match the content of the page. So for example, if they are reading about SEO, it should be about SEO checklist, not about conversion rate optimization.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Make the offer match the page. It's terrific.
So one of the problems might be that if you need to, elaborate on all the content, right? So you're making a lot of incentives. A quick win would be to repackage some other related content, or just change the wording of the call to action. Right? So normally it would be something like subscribe to our newsletter, but now it would be, want to hear more about X, right? Or next time we talk about this and this subject.
Hey, Jordy,
and then add the call.
Jordy, it's never going to be subscribed to a newsletter.
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah.
I can't say subscribe to the newsletter. I can only say download this content. No, of course I can say subscribe to my newsletter.
Well, you can. You can say whatever you want. It's a matter of whether or not it's going to work. I mean, how many people really just subscribe to your newsletter, right?
No one wants a newsletter.
Okay.
We don't want newsletters. We want benefits of newsletters.
You call it free email tips via newsletter, right? But one of the things might be that if you have a page, you're not per se limited to one opt-in area, right? So you can have several call to actions on one page: top, side, bottom, in content, pop-ups. Whatever you may think, you'll see those hello bars, the one that's totally at the top that animates. These type of things. You can just try a bunch of them, and in general, the higher the conversion.
Yeah. Right. Well, and it also depends on what kind of what the context is. Like we're talking about a very specific.
I suppose you can go overboard, right? Yeah. But I always tell people to be a little bit more aggressive than they probably feel comfortable with. Just a little bit, You don't want to go crazy, though.
Yeah, and this is also in just the context of this is a lot of what we're talking about is in blogs. It's not necessarily for, a landing page that's designed specifically for PPC, right? That's a little bit different. How you get people enticed to that, it might be a pre-launch, right? I've subscribed to a handful of different companies because it's like, hey, we're going to be launching soon. And if you want to be the first to know, give us your email address. And that the case for that's not necessarily being built with a 3,000 word blog post. The case for that's being built with the images and the copy that's on the page. And then you're like, oh, bam, I really want this. And then it goes into the nurturing aspect of it afterwards, keeping people engaged. So the other part to recognize when it comes to capturing those emails in the first place is the context and where you're at right now. So just something to think about there.
Cool. So we talked a lot about capturing the emails and ideas around capturing.
Definitely add that though. I mean, it's.
I think there's a delay for Tim. That's
definitely. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, there's a delay. I'd definitely say adding to Geordie, putting the call to action in several places. Ask more often in more places, without doubt. But measure it on your page, every capture form, every capture process. Measure it, and then see which ones are working best. You'll be shocked. So, if you ask for an email address in 3 places, measure each of them individually. Don't just say, oh, look, we've got more because we ask more often. Work it out. You've got to do that.
Create an event in Google Analytics.
Yeah, whatever you do.
Yeah. You got to benchmark it and track it, absolutely. Google Analytics is a good way to do it. We talked a little bit about, capturing the emails at this point. What I want to spend a little bit of time around is the email nurturing. Could someone maybe explain what that means? How about we go with Tommy there? Tommy, can you explain what email nurturing means for those that don't know what that means?
Yeah, sure. So it depends on where people are entering from, of course, and kind of understanding where a person's level of understanding is of the product that you are currently trying to put out there. So there's a survey that Google's Zero Moment of Truth finds that before someone even subscribes to you, in a lot of cases, or before someone purchases, they've looked at 11 different sources of content to determine whether or not they're going to buy from you. If that's not the case, then the nurturing aspect of that is answering some of those questions and building that narrative about why the thing you're selling needs to be a part of their life in the email process. And something that I love about this is that, a lot of people will say, find your ideal target market and listen to your audience and whatnot. But I also like discovering who my anti-market is, who my anti-customer is. And in the nurturing process, I'm both simultaneously trying to attract my ideal customer and filter out through the process who my anti-customer is, because I don't want to necessarily have to deal with a ton of customer support debt. I don't want to be answering stupid questions throughout the way. I don't want to have to deal with returns afterwards. Like, this is something that, the nurturing process is really just the communication sequence to help people identify whether or not the thing that you're selling is for them or not. And it's different for every single product. If I were to do an email nurture sequence for a Mac, right, there are a lot of different things that a Mac can do, but you're also looking at how you're getting people into that funnel. A Mac for a photographer is going to be very different than a Mac for a writer, right? And in creating those sort of communication sequences that get them both people to the same results at the end is where you need to be looking at. I'm going to actually throw that over to somebody else to build on that.
Cool. I'd like to. I think you built on it really well. I think that makes sense about that and the nurturing of sort of education over time.
Yeah.
It takes multiple touches for it to happen, and I guess that depends on the offer of how often you should be following up with people. I mean, we don't want to deceive people and say you're signing up for a discount and then email them every single month if it's really a newsletter. I think you have to tie the two together and make it make sense. But some questions I think people are going to have outside of sort of the nurturing and how many emails to send and the sequence of doing it, but they want to know is how important is mobile for emails right now? And they probably have some questions around like subject lines and how important that is to email marketing, and whether short emails or long emails are better. And I think these are all good questions. And why don't we just go down the line, each one of you, and each one of you can maybe answer those. Why don't we? I think we haven't heard from Jordy in a little while. Jordy, how important is mobile for email these days? You have to be aware of it. Does your emails need to be mobile friendly? Does it matter?
Yeah. Well, mobile marketing. Well, email marketing is mobile marketing at the moment. Almost half of your emails will be opened on a mobile device. So that's a smartphone. So that's a tablet. And you have to realize that interaction on mobile is a bit different. So when people see your email, of course, on a smartphone, the screen is going to be smaller, right? So they have to easily be able to scan what's in there and be tapping on a bit of a bigger, bolder type of call to actions. And one of the ways of doing that is by making the emails mobile proof or maybe even responsive, making that if you see the email on your desktop, it might look, it's still the same email, but it might look a little bit different because the blocks get shuffled, the fonts change a little bit, and some topics or parts might be hidden or shown. If you use a good email marketing system, you'll be able to build that in, or maybe an agency can help you to craft an email that is mobile responsive.
So you basically make them responsive if you can, and check them on the mobile device so that they look as good as they do on the desktop.
Yeah, and optimizing for mobile, this might be a misunderstanding for most. Optimizing for mobile actually doesn't mean just making it look good, because we could do that all day long, but if nothing gets sold, it doesn't really matter. So you want to optimize it in the way that it's not doesn't only look good, but it also converts.
Right.
And if optimizing it to look better on mobile hurts your desktop conversions, then you're doing exactly the wrong thing. And I think, Tim, you did some testing with the DMA, am I right? With the mobile and desktop version that showed just that? Or maybe
Hey,
he's...
Jordy, you... No, I'm here. Hey. But I did some testing. What I missed the point. The line
okay.
dropped out. What was the question?
I remember there was some testing with the DMA newsletter for the mobile version, and actually the mobile optimized version was not really optimized.
Yeah, I don't think, certainly I've written about tests and split tests between responsive and non-responsive. I don't think it might have been on the DMA that I did an article. It wasn't a DMA email. But it is interesting that, there's a lot of hype around if your emails aren't responsive, you're dead. It's terrible. But the point is, your email doesn't need to be responsive, but it needs to work on a mobile device. And very often emails work on a mobile device right now without being responsive. And, people pay money to have a new template, and then they're left wondering why they didn't make any more money. And the reason was actually their email was working just fine beforehand. So it's really down to looking at, is your email working well on a mobile device? Can you touch it? Can you scan it? Are the links too close together? Screens have got so big on mobile devices now. The problem we had of 3 years ago, and when the iPhone 3 came out, of really small screens, that's gone away. So kind of some of the problems with mobile devices have disappeared. But I get very annoyed that everybody keeps telling you, that marketers that they've got to make their emails responsive, and if they do, they'll see big uplifts. And most of the time, that just doesn't happen. I've looked at it time and time again. You don't see big uplifts, unless, of course, your original email was just really, really bad, and that's not usually the case.
Right. Lincoln, so we'll ask you in the next question. So, long emails or short emails, which is better?
It depends.
No.
No, I mean, it kind of does, though. I mean, it depends on your audience. It depends on what you're trying to do with the email. If you're running a daily deals site and you're selling one thing and you really just need to get that across, it could be a picture of the item and say go get it. If you are trying to really convince somebody to take an action, maybe it's again, it depends on your audience. If you're a consultant and you're trying to gain trust with people, maybe it's just a really long email that is just from you to them, and it looks like it was written just to them. So it really does depend. But I think you have to know. So I mean, this goes back to some of really just the core principles of what So what are you trying to do? Who's your audience? What do we know works for them? If it's mobile versus desktop, that's something to really take into consideration. But I can't sit here and tell you one of these is going to a short email or long email is going to be the right thing, because I don't know. I've been surprised, frankly, at different times where we'll try to have multiple calls to action within one email. And have it be long and have the different things that we're trying to get across be some content, some events coming up or whatever, and then test that against just one thing in there. And actually the longer email with the multiple calls to action did a lot better I thought, no, we need to focus on just that one thing. And I've seen the opposite. So it really depends on, I think, what you're trying to get across and to whom. And I'll just say this about the whole mobile experience. I agree that, responsive isn't necessarily the thing to worry about, but making sure that the experience is good, and also making sure that the experience from the email to whatever it is you're trying to do also works. If you're trying to optimize for mobile, that whole experience has to work. Sometimes you'll have a great email that's mobile optimized. You'll click off of that. You'll go to the landing page or whatever it is
and it's
that
awful.
you're going to, and it's a bad experience. And so that's going to kill it. So you say, hey man, that email crushed it in terms of opens and clicks. Well, okay, but what about the other stuff that was supposed to happen that didn't?
Right.
So that's really important too.
So measure success based on revenues driven, not necessarily.
Well, whatever your goal is, more people.
Whatever your goal may be.
Right.
Yeah, I wanna hop in on this too, right? This is I pulled up a study by Campaign Monitor that shows open by environment in 2013, and this obviously has changed since 2013, but this kind of gives you an idea of where things were at a couple of years ago, and obviously I think mobile has gone a little bit further. But the other thing to keep in mind is that at some point, all of us subscribe to all of the emails that are in our inboxes, and when I hear people talk about email, we hear about like what's the best kind of subject line and what's the best kind of thing. Like we were all excited to open up whatever email, like to sign up for the thing that we signed up for initially, and now how many emails did you guys not open today, right? Yeah. Like that initial investment that people have, we need to be able to build off the momentum of that and get them invested not in the subject line, but in the sender, right? Yeah. So that's something that you need to consider first of all, and then second of all, the as far as campaign or length, it's going to be contextual, not just on like you're on a case by case basis, right? Which is what we all kind of think about. But what's the pattern that you set? What's the precedent that you set over a longer period of time, right? If people are used to seeing short campaigns from you, or short emails from you, a long one, like an exceptionally long one that goes, that takes 15 hours to scroll down, right? Obviously that's an exaggeration, might be the thing that breaks our attention. People are tuned into patterns, and what goes on in our day is just pattern after pattern after pattern. And you see this in a lot of different fields of research, neurolinguistic programming being one of them, that when you interrupt the pattern, you get people's attention and get them to like tune in. So someone that I highly recommend looking at, whose work you should look at, is Nir-Eyal, Nireyal. He talks about the hooked model, or he's developed this thing called the hooked model, which is about building habits with people through interaction design. And the context that he talks about it in is more about through app design, but the same thing applies to emails. So even if I have someone who sends me a crappy email that's like 7 times down the road, like I'm going to open emails from Facebook because it's emails from Facebook, not because they have a specific subject line. And it's because they trained me early on in the process to go, oh, I should open this stuff up from them. So like, that's
a really good point. I think that was, for me, the best gem I've heard so far, which is, it's not about tricking people based on the subject line. It's about actually building a deep relationship with the person who's subscribed to it, so that they know when they get an email from you that they're going to want to open it because of that relationship with that audience that they have. So
yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot that you can learn from first-run experiences too, like. Like when people talk about in software, like especially with SaaS products, the first run experience and the onboarding process, it's the same thing. It's just a different environment, right?
You set those you manage those expectations. You set their expectations with the person that's signed up, and you do that actually from before they even sign up. Once they do, then that first email that they get from you, you're basically you're building that relationship. I'll say about Facebook, and I think this applies to other sort of situations where timeliness is big, is the fear of missing out is also there, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously Facebook, we see that email. There's something about we don't want to not open that because there's something in there that we need to see. So it's Facebook, but it's also that fear of missing out. It's that oh my gosh, if I don't open that, I don't know what the notification was, right? And I think there's something, so you may not be as trusted in their world yet as Facebook, but maybe there's some ways to manage those expectations from the very beginning if you have something that's timely in nature to play off of that fear of missing out. So we can learn from that situation with Facebook. We might not be able to replicate it completely initially, but we can sort of play into some of the psychology that's there.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to go into teardowns, guys, just because we're running a little bit more time in just a couple minutes. But just before we do, I'm going to ask one more question that's a little bit related to what we were talking about. So what are some ways that people can build that trust and relationship with their subscribers right from the beginning to set the right framework and the right send the relationship in the right way from the beginning? What are some things that you guys have done that are helpful, or you could tell a business to do that is helpful to build a healthy, positive experience?
Can I give an example?
Yeah, those are the best.
Not necessarily, because to ask that as a general question is a very difficult thing to answer because it's all contextual. It's the stuff that we've been talking about right already.
Yeah.
But so let's talk about a first run experience for somebody who's buying from an e-commerce site, and this is something that you never ever see, but it would be so cool if you did. Now, I've just got excited about buying a product, right, from a particular company, and I go to the thank you page, and the thank you page isn't just like, hey, thank you for purchasing the product. The thank you page says something to the extent of like, oh, hey, welcome to our brand. Like, this is totally awesome. In a few minutes, you're going to get a confirmation email showing that we have received the thing for your order, right? We're totally on board. Thank you for being part of the family. In a couple minutes, I look into my email, and the email isn't just, here's your order product confirmation, like, we've received your stuff. It's like, all right, so now we've got stuff going into, like, we've got our elves right now looking on the shelves, and they're about to find your product, and they're about to ship it out to you, and that's awesome. The second email that comes in from this particular company says it's not just a standard shipping confirmation email, it's a confirmation email that says we've selected with great care and detail, and we've picked from the most magical place, and we're putting it on a fleet of stuff, and we're going to get it to you come hell or high water. Like, this is what our brand is about. We're introducing you to this, right? Now, there's typically a gap between when that shipping confirmation and the next email goes out. So in this period of time, or when the next when your product actually receives at your door. So in this product of time, it's like, well, hey, haven't you thought about some of this other stuff that might go along with this other cool thing that you just bought? Like, maybe consider this right now. Cool. Warby Parker does this really great job of having this sort of in the middle experience between when you've actually placed the order and when the order is going to get to your door. They send 2 or 3 emails in between that period of time. They then send you an email that says, hey, by the way, the product's at your door right now. Go check it out. And then they send another email that says, hey, by the way, what did you think of the product? Or now that you have the product, what do you think about it? Send it, send a picture to us on Snapchat or Instagram or whatever, right? You're building this momentum from the moment that they say they're interested, which in this case, in the e-commerce instance, is the checkout, all the way to when this thing hits their doorstep, whether it's a physical doorstep or a proverbial doorstep, and you're building brand along the way and getting them excited through each and reinvested into your brand through each part of the product. Now, when you send out a marketing email after you've gone from this hey, you're awesome, thanks for buying from us, like the next marketing email that's after this whole first run product experience, they're way more receptive to opening it up because you have trained them to the first 5 emails that they've gotten from you that, hey, it's worth opening.
That's great. So the big takeaway that I got from there was your business is doomed if you don't have elves shipping your product.
Well, yeah, I mean,
well, I think that personality is huge.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we want it to come from the company team, and we want it to or we'll just say from this company. And I think if you can add personality and have it come from a human being, even if it's not a real human, have it come from a mascot or something that adds that personality.
Right.
And I think also, going back to what Tommy said, I mean, it's about being a little bit more aggressive and positively aggressive than you might otherwise feel. A lot of times we want to hide from our customers. I see that a lot. It's like, oh, they placed an order. Okay, just everybody duck, and hopefully they won't ask for a refund.
Well, I love what Tommy said even about doing the reviews and getting them to come back and involve with it in Snapchat and Twitter, and it becomes like a whole culture around the brand, which is great.
If you can get people to publicly advocate for you, they will grow even stronger as a customer. So, and that's the time to do it, like Tommy said.
A site that does this wonderfully is freepeople.com, right? After you buy a product from them, now I'm definitely not their target market because it's like bohemian women's clothing, and that's not me.
Oh,
but
come on, we know.
But I'm a huge fan. I'm gonna stop. I'm a huge fan of their email marketing because what happens is after you've bought the product, right? They're kind of doing this stuff. Their emails are artfully designed, which is beautiful. But then the other part is like after you've gotten the stuff, they're like, hey, why don't you share some style tips with us on Instagram, right? And then you're like, oh, I'm going to follow them on Instagram and do this. And then another email might be like, oh, hey, watch some style tips that have been filmed on our YouTube channel, right? And now, hey, now that you've joined our YouTube channel, why don't you see what we're doing on Facebook? And they've got something different going on every channel. And next thing you know, they're everywhere in your peripheral. And it's like, you know, Upworthy did the same thing. You click on, you go to Upworthy, they have the pop-up that says follow us on Facebook, and then you click on a link that comes from Facebook, and they're like sign up over email, and then you click on the email, and then it's like check us out on Instagram or on Twitter. And now, like, even if you try to unsubscribe from all the channels, all of your friends did the same exact damn thing, so they're still everywhere, and you can't help it. Like,
Tommy,
the slow build.
I would love it to work like that. In my experience, it doesn't.
Okay.
So you have to be very active on all the channels if
Yeah.
you want to get people to cross-channel engage with you. And for a lot of brands, and especially in B2B, you know, especially for the not fashion, not hip type of brands, or the ones that are not as actively communicating, which are a gazillion companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really work like that. So
Jordy,
you can ask people to follow you on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram, but if nothing's going on there, please do not even put any type of button in there.
Yeah.
You still got to make it worth people's time, you know. Like,
yeah.
Well, don't do it if you're not active there. Totally is the message.
Yeah.
But I think to say that it doesn't work like that is not necessarily true. I think what it says is that people aren't willing to put the effort in to make it work like that. But it can be that magical if you put the effort into it. It's not
it comes down to execuation.
You have to bring the value to the email, right? So people have to see inside the email that stuff. I didn't want to say shit, but shit is going on outside the email. Right?
Yeah.
So the email itself is the invitation, and the party might be on the landing page or on social media or on a real-life event. But you have to bring it up to their face so that they, in one instance, can see, yes, I want this. Click. Let's go.
Right.
Okay.
Well, real quick, one more thing to add there, and then we can move on to that. But I mean, I think it's interesting. Like, nobody wants to go to the party when they're the only one there, right? That's not cool. The same thing goes for, like, in the B2B world in content sharing. Like, I will do a lot of seeding of content shares before I mail it out to the list, so that when this big audience comes there, people have already shared, and they won't feel like they're the first one to share something. So little things like that. I mean, nobody wants to be the only person doing something, right? But if they see that even a small number of people have shared a piece of content, they'll be much more likely to do that, and so you'll get that outside of your own little echo chamber sharing, and I think that's really important to understand.
Yeah, and you can also, I mean, you can look at, you know, even within your own email list, like if you wanted to do the pre-email list, you know, like I think I've seen with, you know, Noah Kagan, for example, he has people doing the inside circle stuff, and it's like, hey, help me massage this piece in order to get, get everybody else involved and interested. And it's like, by the time the piece comes out, he lets those first group of people know, hey, it's out, why don't you give it a share? And it's the same idea, you know, it's the same idea as like building a pre-launch list. Like,
or even the pre-launch email too, where it's like, hey, in a couple of days I'm going to send you this really cool thing. But in the meantime, here's something small cool.
Yeah, Lincoln, you do that all the time, man. I get hooked on your giveaways that you do. I'm hooked on those.
Yep.
All right, guys, we got to get to the teardowns. We're enjoying talking and debating so much, but let's get to some of these teardowns. I think the first one here is J.CREW. We're gonna have to blast through some of them quick, so I just want to hear you guys start shouting out some things. What's working for you? What's not working for you? If you think you got this email, what was good about it? What sucks about it, basically?
Yeah, where's the product images? Where's the excitement to try and get me back and buying? I've signed up, I'm getting free shipping, but I haven't got any images there that are engaging me. Show me some products, because people want to buy products. It's just missing some images. Get me going.
Yeah, where's the call to action? Way down there at the bottom. It's not really...
It's hidden. It's hidden there.
It has one of the biggest faults. It assumes that you read, and that's not true. People don't read, so you'll see free shipping, and then free shipping. So what now, right?
Like you see free
and then
shipping
it says
before you see
click
anything
here
else.
to shop, but you have to read all around the context, all the other texts, to be able to know where to click.
Well, if you look at this too, like the most obvious call to action here, the J.CREW personal shopper, that's not even the call to action.
Right.
That text link, click here to shop J.CREW, that's the call to action, and there's no, yeah, exactly. There's no, like, it's all hidden. There's no contrast. Like, I love overall the design, right? I think it's beautifully designed. The typography is nice and whatnot, but there's no, like, button that says here.
Do this.
And the one button that does says here, it's the wrong place.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go click this because it's the most intuitive thing, and then I'm gonna get free shipping on my personal shopper. And then
we've even got text in the way of the call to action. We start telling them what the code is for the checkout before we even got the call to action. I mean, you want to really get, that code can be way down below the call to action. Let's get that call to action up higher there. And then we've got valid only through to the 19th of August and so on. I don't know when this email was sent, but I mean, is it underplaying urgency? Was this something which is available for 24 hours? We could use urgency to drive the action as well a lot more effectively if that was an urgent thing.
It has another a rudimentary mistake, and this is a good one for the folks at home. Just count the number of times you're saying your own name, your brand, I, or we in the text, and then we call this a we mail. If the first word is we. We are so happy you signed up. We are giving you free shipping. No. You have to think of someone reading this, right? He doesn't care about J.CREW. He just cares about the free shipping. So try and take out all that I, we, us type of text.
Great tips, guys. Let's go into the next one. Dropbox.
I like this one. This sad computer is sad.
Again, I mean, the call to action here is really hidden away. I mean, it's just not prominent enough. Download Dropbox here. It's kind of blue down the bottom. It's the same size text. We're not using any font. And if we're trying to get people engaged, we've got bullets there. Easily save files to your Dropbox. Why aren't there hyperlinks where people will find out more about how easy it is? We could build in, if this is to try and get people re-engaged, we could build in more opportunities to engage people in this content quite easily. And how about download Dropbox? I mean, maybe people were worried. What are their objections? Is it for Mac? Is it for Windows? Is it for my mobile? What am I downloading it for? We haven't told them about the operating systems that we might be able to offer them there.
And so this being a cloud product, I would say that they could, and hopefully are, they would know that I've been using their web client. I've been doing all of my work through the web client. So this email would actually be hey, use the native client to make things even better. And here, so kind of talking about the value propositions, not being sad, but making this a value-added email versus that. Now, if this was an email that was like you signed up but you haven't done anything, then we need to overcome those objections, get me started with a big button that says, upload your first file, share a file, whatever that call to action should be. So I think, this is the great thing about SaaS and cloud products is that we should have some visibility into how people are using the product and be able to send a contextual message. So I don't know who this is really for. This is really just about you haven't installed our software. You might be perfectly successful using the cloud version of the web app, but you got to do this. And I'm like, why? What's the point?
Okay, great tips. Let's go on to the next one, our favorite one, Shopify.
Shall I just burn, Tommy? Because somebody has to do it, right?
I can't comment on this,
You
and I
cannot
did not
comment.
write
We
this
know.
email.
We know. For everybody at home, Tommy just started with Shopify, so he wasn't responsible for any of this. So let me just start and I'll burn it down. Great idea, terrible copy. Want your free trial extended? What? What are you even asking me? I want my free trial extended, and then hi. I guess that's a URL. .com. Okay. Then they tell me that my trial ended a few days ago. If I didn't notice, I wouldn't want to extend it. No, this is a terrible, terrible, terrible. I would go with the other way around. I would say what they are missing, right? Nobody cares about a free trial.
Yeah, I agree with Jordi. The copy is in need of a little bit of work here. It's getting things wrong. I'm being fun. But where are the reasons to extend? And why are you making me log in to extend my trial? Why can't I just extend it with a single click? Just click here and you're done. One click and extend. Log in. That sounds like hard. Oh God.
Even if they have to log in,
that's because they're thinking of themselves. They're still thinking of themselves. At least when this email was written, as software.
Yeah.
Right. And SaaS and cloud companies need to get out of that mindset and think of them as just a service. This is Shopify is something that you build your business on. Right? It's software powered, but it's not software. It's you decided at some point you wanted to start an online business selling stuff. Why let's make sure you do that. So I agree with you guys. It's not about extending the free trial. Nobody actually cares about that. It's how can we get you back in here and help you do the thing that you wanted to do when you tried Shopify in the first place. Yes. Now, of course, never get to this point. We should be doing other things before they ever get to the point.
No,
I think it's exactly like the previous one as well. The context here. I mean, did they during their trial? Did they actually log into the system at all? Did they start creating their site? How far did they get with their Shopify store? We should actually have this. Should be talking about. You're almost there, and get the emotion going about. You started setting up a Shopify store because you're going to make a bundle of money. Well, bring back the emotion of that vision you had, that excitement you had of making some money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great
and
tips,
another
guys.
thing is what you see here is too late, too little, right? If there were no emails before that, now the free trial has ended, right? That could mean two things. One, the free trial was too short to begin with. That could be one. Or two, the other one was you sent this email too late. You have to. It's good to make some kind of urgency that they do something, and that's why I like the little link in the bottom that says, if you just want to forget about us, that's also okay. But tell us why. That's pretty good. But otherwise, think about how people are going to use it, what their barriers are, and what their motivations are. What is a first step? Now, that first step might be upload your logo, right? Because people need to upload the logo, or put one product in, or just look how it already works from the front end. All these little things, and that's just where they start.
Well, and just one more thing on that is just bottom line is most SaaS and cloud companies do a terrible job at their email cadence through a free trial, and a lot of times that email of your trial has expired, would you like to extend it, is like the first email after the original email of here's your login credentials. So this shouldn't be the first time they've heard from you in 32 days or 16 days on a 14-day trial.
Another thing on the copy, just as a quick tip, if you start a sentence with "if you would like ... you are making people think if they would like it or not.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. So that's not the best hook. You're actually trying to give people a reason to do something, but excluding the rest of the people.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, we just have a few minutes left that are here, so I think we're going to end the teardowns there on Shopify. It's a great way to end it for teardowns, don't you think, Tommy? And and I think that we're going to get to some of the guests.
That was terrible.
Shopify email. Tommy's going to be adding elves all over the Shopify email.
Oh man.
We got some questions that have come in, and I want to leave some time as well for the questions. So for anybody out there who still hasn't got their questions, and if you could start posting them right away, that'd be great. I've got a bunch of them here. But before we get on to those questions, maybe you guys could just shout out a few of your favorite email marketing tools. What are some of your favorite email marketing tools? To start shouting out your favorite ones.
My brain.
Yeah, Common Sense is a good one.
That's it. That's the only one that matters.
So I'll give you some things I use. I have a pre-launch checklist, just a checklist with things to check before I send out an email. And of course, that's also an incentive for people to sign up to my newsletter at emailmonday.com.
Nice plug,
Yeah. I also use Tim's tool, which is like a statistical significance calculator, which you can calculate how big your test size must be, and if the outcome of your email test is big enough. And also I like some of these email newsletter galleries. So I'll go to those. There's beautiful email newsletters. There is some Pinterest boards, and they'll have it on topic, saying like, okay, I'm making a welcome email or an onboarding email, right? The ones that we talked about, or a series during a trial, and you just go there and you see lots and lots of examples. That's great stuff.
So one of my tools that I'm always using and looking at and getting value from is Excel Power Pivot. It's boring data geeky stuff, but I mean, it's the money's in the data and understanding the data. So any tool I can use that makes it easier to get more out of it and turn the data from into information and information into insight. So I find Power Pivot's a very fast, easy way of doing it many times. Because the ESP tools don't give you the depth of data you really need. They just give you simple campaign reports. They don't give you what you really want.
Great.
Yeah, I would just say know what you're trying to do. Know the audience, and I mean the tools are only as good as knowing what to do with them. And if you don't know those basic things, it's going to be difficult.
I like using Google Draw. Like, I'm a big fan of free stuff. I like using Google Draw to put together sort of structures for autoresponder campaigns and do the sort of tree mapping, right? If your email software doesn't do that automatically by default, I kind of like doing like, oh, if people click, then they get this. If they don't click, then the follow-up is this, and kind of figure out what that flow is going to be like. And I like using Trello to kind of put together some ideas. Like, I organize boards by like ideas, stuff that's going in production, and then scheduling on the calendar as to when it's actually going to go out. And I was actually speaking with the merchants earlier today about also using color codes within those Trello boards and those campaign ideas to target specific segments. When I first started, I would look at a segment and go like, oh, what can I say to this particular segment today? And then never actually like came up with some sort of structure to the emails that went out to that specific segment. And now that I think about it a little bit more, it's like, what's the narrative I can build with this specific segment over time? Which is, you do that with blog posts, but it's kind of like, oh, well, how can you take that even further with email campaigns?
Well, listen, guys, we're just about at the end here. This is a pretty passionate conversation. I think that we probably could have talked another hour or two just on this topic. But I wanted to thank all four of you for joining the webinar tonight. Just real quick, before we move on to the survey, I'd like to just maybe have you guys announce maybe how they can find you via Twitter or your website. If each one of you could do that. We'll start with Lincoln, and then we'll go to Jordy, Tim, and Tommy. But Lincoln, how can people find you if they want to get in touch with you? 16ventures.com is my website, and @Lincoln Murphy on Twitter.
and I share unique things on Twitter, things you won't find on the website.
Great.
Follow me.
Jordy, how do we do?
Yeah, so you can find me on emailmonday.com. That's my website. That's also where there's some of those delicious downloads, like the pre-launch checklist and list growth template. You can find it there. You can find me on Twitter, jvanrijn, @jvanrijn, and there's another one, and it's called emailvendorselection.com. And you can guess 3 times what you can do there.
And Tim, how about you? How can we get in touch with you?
Sure. If you just go to zetosphere.com, or if you Google email marketing consultant, you'll find me and Geordie up amongst the top 3 or 4 entries. But yeah, if you go to don't go to Geordie. Zetosphere.com, and or Twitter is @TAWatson. Find me that way. It'd be lovely to make contact.
If Google says it, it must be true, right?
Oh,
how about
man.
you, Tommy?
If you Google Tommy Walker online marketing consultant, you can find me at the top of
What? Johnny Walker? What?
Tommy Walker. But if you type in just regular Tommy Walker, you get a Christian music celebrity. So like, I'm not him. We talk sometimes though. No, you can find me on the Shopify blog, so shopify.com/blog, and you can find me on Twitter at Tommy is my name. Rather straightforward.
Great. Great. Thanks so much, guys. For you guys that are still out there, if you please click on that survey link, answer a couple questions, let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to get in the future. That'd be great. And when you do, you're going to be entered into a contest, and one person will randomly pick to win an Amazon $50 gift card. Just want to let you guys know about the next webinar coming up as well. If you haven't registered yet, stay tuned for the next one coming up. Conversion rate optimization strategies that'll give you an unfair advantage in doubling your leads. And that's happening on June 25th at 2015, just in case you don't know what year we're in, at 2 p.m. And you can always go to Powered by Search to find more information about our webinars. Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time to put this together. I think people got some great gems today. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
See you later.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Bye.